Well, good day, YouTube, and welcome to another episode of the Albino Rhino beer review. Today you have the Rhino, and we're looking at a beer that, to some people, is considered a Canadian legend in the craft beer industry. It's a beginner. It's one of those craft beers that has been around since, like, the beginning of the Ontario craft beer scene. It's from Granite in Toronto, and there was a Granite in, was it Nova Scotia or New Brunswick? There was one in those as well. This is the Granite's Ringwood Blonde. So Granite Brewing, established in 1991. Ringwood is a crisp, refreshing, easy-drinking blonde ale with a gentle hop profile that allows the aroma and flavors of the Ringwood yeast to take center stage. This beer was sent to me by the one and only Multi, so thank you very much, Multi. It says water, malted barley, wheat, hops, and yeast, and that is the signature of this beer, is the Ringwood yeast. I believe it's proprietary. There is some breweries that have proprietary yeasts. Wellington Brewing Company. Why does every Wellington beer have kind of the same flavor? Well, Wellington uses a proprietary yeast blend, and a lot of their beers taste somewhat similar because of that. They don't all taste the exact same, but they have a similar flavor because of that. And the Ringwood is a beer that has been known throughout the Ontario brewing history since craft brews came back to being something in the world. A little bit of haze to it, not a lot. Like, I can see my hand through it, but not perfectly. On the camera, it looks to be very bronze-esque. Here, it's kind of, I don't know, piss yellow. Lots of snap, crackle, pop on there. Scent from the glass. There's a lot of, like, a banana note coming off of this. Yeah. Very banana-esque. Almost banana and butterscotch pudding. And I know butterscotch can be a off flavor in beer. It can also be a flavor that's meant to be there. There are a lot of yeasts that give off almost a Werther's Original flavor. And it kind of smells like that. It kind of smells like banana and butterscotch pudding. Now, is that what it's supposed to smell like? I don't know. I've never had... To be honest, I don't think I've ever had anything from Granite at all. If I'm thinking about this here, let's see. Because now I'm curious. Have I had anything from Granite? No, I've never had a beer from Granite. So I don't know if this is kind of what it's supposed to be. All I know is that this is a beer that everybody that I've ever known in the industry has talked about it being one of the beers that got them into craft beer. For me, one of the beers, there were several beers that got me into craft beer, but I had never I hate Toronto. I don't go to Toronto. I don't like people. Like, crowds give me hives. Yeah, I know, I ran a beer festival. Crowds still give me hives. So let's try it. Cheers. And they never delivered when I lived in Ontario. I do believe they deliver now. And they usually have a whole plethora of beers to choose from. But I don't live in Ontario anymore, right? I'm in Saskatchewan now. So the only way I get beers from them is if somebody sends them to me. And luckily somebody sent this to me. There's a canning date on there too. And it looks to be... Fuck you? Is that what it says? September 4th, 2024. The Julienne date looks like it says fuck you. It's like F-O-C-K. Yeah. But September of 2024. So for a blonde, that's actually not bad. It's January 11th right now. So yeah. Cheers. Huh. Okay. I think if this was cold, because again, I don't drink my beers cold. But I think if this was cold, it would be something very different. Right now, it has almost a oaky tannic finish that hits the sides of the tongue. A little bit of banana and butterscotch, and I believe those are both from the yeast. Nice, nonchalant malty sweetness up at the forefront. You know what? Again, I think if this was cold, this would just fly down your throat. And where it is right now, to me, I know it says it's a blonde ale, it's Ringwood blonde ale, but to me this seems like a good English pub ale. And I think I think that's what they were going for with it. I really feel like that's possibly where this beer was supposed to go. And they did well in that. I actually quite enjoy this. Is it a beer I would go out of my way to get again? Probably not. But what's their last names? Is it the O'Keefes? I can't. The last I read, it was the original owner's daughter that was the brewmaster now. And I can't remember her name for the life of me. I don't know if the beer has changed in 30, 33 years. It's probably changed in some ways. But I could see this 30 years ago being a beer that was sought after. I could see this being something that people were like, oh my lord, this is so different than what's on the market now. Now, today, not having grown up on this beer, not having started drinking this beer when I was young, well, hell, I would have only been 11 years old when this place opened up. But having not had Ringwood from the beginning, I don't know if it would make me switch gears or anything. Because there are a lot of macro beers that will have a flavor similar to this now. There is a lot of macro beers that try to be crafty in some way, shape, or form. And I think they could compete with something like this. However, if you had the nostalgia and all that, this would be right up there, I think. Because it's a great pub ale. I really think it's a great pub ale. And I would buy it again. I just wouldn't go out of my way to get it. Meaning that, I wouldn't be like, hey, it's on the other side of town. Let's go over there so I can have a Ringwood. It'd be one of those, I walked into Urban Cellars and they had it on the shelf. And I'm like, hey, I like that beer. Let's grab one. Right? It's that type of thing. So I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. I think it's a solid, strong beer, and it stood the test of time. And even to this day, I think this is a great beer. And it's a beer, like I said, it's a beer that, to me, had history because I'd heard so many people talk about it that were in the industry, and I had just never had it. And I don't like it as much as some of them did, but I still think it's a solid beer. Cheers. Bye-bye.